Like, Tamara, I could not believe you have me out here defending a politician. But when it comes to us asthmatics, we gotta stick together, okay? Inhalers unite. Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Now if this is your first time here, hey, welcome. My name is Dianne and I'm super excited that you found your way here. We are officially on episode 2 of the Traitors season 2. Now listen, I know that I am behind, okay? I am behind, but I am making my way and I am getting there, okay? I will meet y'all at episode 8 in no time, okay? This video is going to be my recap of episode 2. If you have not already checked out my first impressions video or my episode 1 recap video, then pause this video, go back and watch those two, and then come back, okay? Come back, okay? But for those of you that have already watched those videos, then I'm excited to get into this next episode. Damn. Okay, so boom, we start this episode off and it's Parvati getting her recruitment letter from the other Traitors, her invitation to join the other Traitors. And she opens it and she's reading through it and she makes a statement and she says, "I accept your invitation." Now, inside the letter it says, "Parvati, you have been chosen," right? So just walk with me for a second. She says, "I accept your invitation." Is there a world, okay? Is there a world where she can say no? Like, again, I didn't watch the first season, so I don't know if the rules were set that if you get recruited, you have to become a traitor. I don't know. But my wheels start spinning when she says, "I accept your invitation." And I'm thinking to myself, is there a world where you can say no? Where you can decline? And trust me, I understand that you're taking a risk because they could probably be like, "Oh, well, you don't want to join us, then cool, we'll just send you home." I get that. I get that, okay? I totally understand. And there are some people who are probably like, "Well, why wouldn't you be a traitor?" Again, I've already stated that being a traitor does not necessarily mean that you're gonna win the game. In my opinion, you can win on either side of this thing. It just depends on how you decide to navigate throughout the game. There are pros and cons on both sides. And I think with the right strategy, you can make some shake as either one, okay? And being a traitor may not work with your strategy. That may not work for you, okay? You can probably get through the game a lot better as a faithful. And so if you get that invitation, it's like, oh, this does not work with my strategy, so I'm going to decline that. And I understand that that is taking a risk, but there is a... So in the scene, I saw something. Okay, I saw something that could have worked to her advantage. I don't want to speak too much about it because, again, if they call me, I'm going to answer. And so I don't want to sit in front of this camera and tell on myself. But if they call me, I am going to answer. And so I can't go into detail about where my mind went with that whole situation. And I know some of you are probably looking like, "Devon, no, like that doesn't make sense." But I promise you, if I break it down to you, it is an option. Now, I'm not saying that that is a road that I would take, but there's room for conversation. And so I just want to see what you guys think. I just want to pick your brains on that. So comment below and tell me what you think of that idea. Because as crazy as it sounds, I promise you, there can be a method to the madness. And I will just leave that at that. Parvati gets her invitation, she accepts it, and she's excited because she is officially a part of the Traitors, right? Well, you know, she got to go take her oath and give blood and all that other stuff. But at this point, she is a traitor. So now we cut back to Dan and Phaedra, and they're deliberating because they still have to do a job. Their first job was to recruit somebody. Parvati, check. And so now they have to send somebody home. I can't say the word that I want to say because we own the U of the tubes, right? And so they have to send somebody home. So they're going through different scenarios or whatever. Dan throws out Kevin. Dan says he wants to cause confusion amongst the group. And he said the best person to send home would be Kevin because it would be the person that they least expect. And Phaedra's like, "Oh no, I don't want to send him home. He's so nice and so sweet. And I really like Kevin, blah, 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 blah." And Dan is like, like, exactly. That's what makes him the perfect person, because he is so likable. Everybody likes Kevin. There's no one would suspect him being the one to send home. It would throw the house into an uproar, right? Dan is trying to make a moment, okay? He's trying to make a moment. And Phaedra just like, but he's sweet, he's kind. And see, go back to that first impressions video when I was talking about Peppermint. When I was like, Peppermint is so kind and so sweet. And I said, but in this world, we don't care. We don't care that you are nice and kind and sweet. In this game, you are a number. And if I'm trying to win this game, all of the numbers have to go home eventually, right? And so your number is going to get called at some point. And so we don't care that you're nice and we don't care that you're kind. And that was a perfect example of what I was talking about. So then Dan brings up Johnny, and Phaedra was like, well, no, we need Johnny to win the missions. He gonna help us collect these coins. And so then they cut to Dan saying Peppermint. And Phaedra made an interesting statement. She said that Peppermint was an encyclopedia for reality TV stars. And in my mind, I was like, oh, my girl has been running around the house saying, oh, I know you from your show, or I've watched your show and I've seen you, and girl, I know what you and I'm like, like, is this what the people were talking about when they were like, Davon, I just need you to just reel it in. I need you to just be quiet. And we didn't see Peppermint have these conversations, but why would Phaedra just say that? So Peppermint had to have been letting the people know she knows their backgrounds, you know? Phaedra was like, she knows all of our resumes. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, okay, so my girl did her homework, but the homework was not a group project. I need her to keep it to herself, okay? I know some of y'all are probably like, the hypocrisy of you. The pot calling the kettle, calling the pot, calling the kettle. Okay, we got it. In any event, they have this conversation, and then they ultimately come to an agreement of who they're going to send home, right? So Dan makes this statement where he says that he realizes that with Phaedra, if he pushes what he wants to do a little hard, eventually she'll cave. And whatever agenda he's trying to push, whatever his agenda is, it can happen. And so that's where I want us to have a conversation, right? Do you guys think that Phaedra really does trust Dan and trust his judgment to navigate, you know, the traitors throughout this process? Or do you think that Phaedra is playing a game where everything Dan has said about her is what she wants Dan to say about her? You know what I mean? Like, everything he said, oh, she's going to do what I say, I can take the lead, that is exactly the game that Phaedra wants to play, so Dan thinks he's in charge. Meanwhile, she's processing and collecting information. What do you guys think? Is it A, like she really does trust Dan, or is it B, no, but I'm going to let you think that. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. Moving on. So it is the next morning and it is time for breakfast, and this is how we find out who survived through the night, right? The cast members start coming in small groups, and it's like, oh, I made it. Oh, you're alive too. Oh, you survived. Right? And so in this moment is when I got excited about this game. Like, I was excited from the gate, but I think this moment really made me excited because watching Dan and watching Phaedra come in, and they're like, oh, I made it. I survived. And they sitting down and they listening to the conversations and like, oh, I thought I was a goner. I thought I wasn't going to make it. And I'm just sitting there like, you just caught a body last night. Like, what do you mean? Like, you knew. That for me is one of the most exciting parts. Like, you get to pretend like I have no idea what's going on. And it's just, oh my goodness, I would have so much fun with this game. In any event, all the people are coming in slowly but surely. And then Trishelle comes in. She comes in and she sits down and she starts talking about this Peppermint situation again. Like, girl, did you eat your eggs? At least. Did you have a piece of bacon? Grits? Coffee? Tea? Water? Like, did you have anything before you decided to start talking about this Peppermint situation again? We are tired. We are tired. We don't want to hear about that. Now, the night before, when the situation first happened, I get it. I totally get it. The night before, when she goes around and she's telling people about the peppermint situation, in my opinion, that was her strategizing and playing the game, okay? Not saying it was the right move, but she was strategizing and playing the game in her mind. I get that. I totally get that. You trying to go around, girl, plant seeds just in case you want to cover yourself and throw some attention on her. Whatever. Okay, whatever, you know? But to bring it up today, I'm like, we don't need that. You could have kept that. You don't have to say everything. Like, we did not need that. But she proceeds to talk about this situation yet again, and she's trying to get people to agree with her perspective of Peppermint being a traitor. As she's talking, you know, she's painting the picture of, oh, I'm going to have to watch myself because, you know, she's going to be coming after me. If she's a traitor, she's going to be looking for me. So Deontay chimes in and he's like, oh, don't worry. You know, just today, just watch her mannerisms, watch how she behaves, watch her body language, you know, just watch her and you'll find out all the information you need to know. And so Dan chimes in and he goes, yeah, I keep a lookout too. Like, for who? You know she's not, like, this is why I'm saying this game would be so much fun. Oh my goodness. So Dan chimes in, he's gonna watch Peppermint too. And you know, slowly I'm starting to see that this is going to be a situation of they're gonna try to get my girl out. I said it in my first video. I was like, they're gonna try to come for Peppermint for this situation. And Trishelle's playing it in a way to where there are no other options. They're going to try to take my girl out of this game, and I hate it. Like, Peppermint, I need you to swing back. Like, I need do something. Like, oh my God. So while they're sitting around the table, Ekin-Su decides she wants to ask Peter. So if you were a traitor, you know, and you had to recruit someone, who would you choose and why? And I'm like, yes, that's my girl. I didn't know you before, but I'm learning you now. You are asking the right questions because yes, these are the questions we need to know. I probably wouldn't have asked it to Peter, but these are the questions we need to know. Like, yeah, who would you pick? Man, that's my girl. So at this point, Tamara walks in and hey girl, I'm glad you're feeling better. Just in time for breakfast. Welcome back. So Tamara walks in and now they're all having this conversation and they're just trying to figure out who's who's left, blah, blah, blah. You know, typical conversations. We trying to figure out who's going to be walking through the door. So now Phaedra pops up and she goes, who's left? Like, ma'am. That's why I say they are making a great case for me to want to be a traitor, right? Like that. It just seems like so much fun to just sit there and act clueless. Like, I know they're having a good time in this moment. It probably gets harder later on, but in this moment, I know that they are having such a good time because it looks so much fun to sit there and just play in these people's faces. Like it, oh. In any event, the last three people who have not walked through the door are the three people who they discussed when they were talking. Phaedra and Dan were talking. And that's Kevin, Peppermint, and Bananas, right? And so we get a knock at the door. And it's Kevin and Peppermint. No Johnny Bananas. Oh my gosh. When they walked through the door, it gave very much, my name is on the list, Nene's isn't. Like, where's Johnny? Now, if you go back to my first video, I told you guys, I was afraid to watch the show because people were saying that Dan went home first. Nobody said Johnny. Like, I still would have watched. That wouldn't have stopped me from watching, but no one said Johnny. And so when Johnny did not walk through the door, I was like, somebody who is considered one of the kings of the show. So you to come over here and flop wouldn't make sense. I had no words. I should have done a live reaction because baby, my jaw was on the floor. I was not expecting them to pick him. I get it, but I was not expecting them to pick him. In any event, this sends the house into an uproar. This is what Dan wanted ultimately. And so CT is now shook. Okay, because he's like, well, if they took Johnny out, obviously I'm next, you know, because challenge, you know. And so he's now in a panic. And so, baby, camera then cuts to Johnny as he's receiving his letter from the Traitors saying that he's been banished. He didn't look too happy about it, you know. He looked like, man, like first, because no one wants to be the first person out. I don't care what the show is. It could be The Price is Right. You don't want nobody wants to be the first person out. You don't, right? But in any event, Peppermint, oh, I want my girl to stop talking. Okay, I get it. Maybe this is my karma, okay? Maybe this is my karma because you guys have been saying it my entire Big Brother career. Dayvon, stop talking to these people. Dayvon, be quiet. Dayvon, close your mouth. Dayvon. Okay, I got it. I got it because I want my girl to shut up. Okay, Johnny doesn't walk through the door and then Peppermint starts talking and she's like, oh yeah, he's loud, he's this, he's that, he's this, and naming all of these reasons of why Johnny should have been sent home. And then now the other players, their antennas are like, oh, she's speaking like a traitor. Janelle says something like, oh, she sounds like a true traitor. And I'm just like, oh girl, stop giving these people ammunition. Like it's like they got the pew pew and you are handing them the bullets. No ma'am. Please stop talking. And so Dianne takes this as an opportunity to ask Peppermint about the Trishelle situation. And see, this is what I mean when I told y'all. For Peppermint, this was not a big deal. She didn't care. She did not care. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that means you didn't go back and watch the first video. Go back and watch the first video. She didn't care. You understand? And so when Trishelle says, oh, you know, our little situation we had, Peppermint is like, what situation? Like, what are you talking about? Literally, you could tell she had completely forgotten about it because it wasn't important to her. You know what I mean? And so Trishelle breaks it down. She tells her what happened in the face she met. All of this is because Peppermint made a face. Trishelle's reasoning for all of this is because Peppermint gave her a look. And if we go back and we look at the look, this was the look. In my opinion, that look was not enough to cause all of this fuss. It's too much, right? Am I tripping? Or it's too much. It's too much. For a look, it's too much. At that point, they weren't even dragging each other. You know what I'm saying? Nobody was throwing verbal daggers. Like, none of that had even happened. All of this is based on a look. I don't know, Trishelle. I don't know, but I don't know, but it's not sitting right in the spirit. It's not sitting right in my spirit. So Alan comes in and he confirms that Johnny has been banished and he is no longer a part of the game, right? He then lets them know that later on tonight, them as a group, they are going to have the opportunity to also banish somebody. They're going to have opportunity to send somebody home. And so, like, my goodness, 2 eliminations in 24 hours, that's a lot. Like, you got to dodge the Traitors and you got to dodge each other. It's a lot. But somebody else is going home tonight. And it's up to them to figure out exactly who that person is going to be. They're going to vote and somebody is out of here. But before that, Alan lets them know that they are going to take on another mission. And that's another opportunity for them to collect some coins towards their prize pot. Okay? And that's what it's about. Building up that pot. Okay. So before they even get into the mission, Peppermint is having a conversation with CT, Marcus, and Sandra, right? And in my opinion, my girl was flipping the table on this Trishelle situation. They're sitting there, they're having the conversation. She has them laughing. Like, my girl is working the room. And I'm so proud of her because I think that it may be working in her favor. You know what I'm saying? Because again, this situation is so dumb. And so in my opinion, she's working it out and she's flipping, you know, the people back over onto her side. Until the ladies leave the room, and then Marcus and CT are there left alone, and CT and Marcus are like, I don't know, like, shut up. You heard what the girl had to say. Like, it makes sense. I don't know. Like, they made me so mad. So then we get into this conversation with Peter, Parvati, Tamara, and Sandra, and they're having a conversation about John. Okay, about how he's a politician and he could potentially be a traitor and how they don't trust him, and that whole conversation is happening. So notice, in the two conversations that I have mentioned, who has been in both of them? Sandra. My girl gonna collect some information, okay? My girl is gonna collect some information. So how this mission works is each team has to run into these woods, okay? And along the way, they each have their own paths and they have to come to these, I guess we'll call them checkpoints. And at each checkpoint, there is a locked box, okay? A box with a little lock on it. Each box, they have to open it up and they're gonna read this question. Now, the questions are about each other. They took a personality quiz or something like that before the challenge even started. Sorry, the mission. We are talking about missions. Before the mission even started, they took these little personality quizzes or surveys, whatever you want to call them. And that's how they were able to get the answers. Producers were able to get the answers to these questions. So as they open the box, they pull out the question, they read it, and they have to figure out who on the cast does that pertain to, right? And so as they're going to these boxes, there are these scarecrows. Now, flag on the play. Flag on the play. Because, no. What are these scarecrows? This look like grade A witchcraft. Why are their names hanging from these scarecrows? Like, these aren't even cute scarecrows. This is not Michael Jackson in the Wiz. Like, that was cute. What is that? That is demonic. And I want no parts of that. I rebuked. No, thank you. So each scarecrow that is hanging also has a name attached to them. And that person, one of those people, can be the answer to the question, right? So like the first question they got was, who do people trust the most, or something like that. And it was between Marcus or Larsa, and they had to choose which one it was, right? And so they would grab the skeleton down that had the right name on it, and they would carry that skeleton to the next checkpoint or to the next box. And the key on that skeleton, if it was correct, it would unlock that box. But if not, they would have to run the skeleton all the way back and get the correct skeleton and come on back to be able to unlock it and get to the next one. In any event, once they've answered all the questions, they have to run down into the field of gold. And in the field of gold, they'll be able to get the coins, okay? They will be able to collect the coins. And when Alan explained it, in that moment, it seemed pretty simple until they actually got to the field. And once they actually got to the field, baby, did y'all see all them scarecrows standing out? That's what I'm telling you. Witchcraft. Witchcraft. And I'm so glad I didn't get cast on this season, because I would have been rebuked. Gold. Rebuke. Shield. Like, they'd have been like, why is Davon in the field with her anointing oil? Because I would have been rebuked. Sorry. Not sorry. In any event, when they did get down there, all of these scarecrows are out there, and Alan lets them know that 10 of the scarecrows, you have to rip them open, okay? 10 of the scarecrows have the little gold in it, and that's how they're going to be able to get the 20K. And then there are 3 of them who have hats on that are going to have the shields. Now, if you didn't pay attention to my last video and you don't know what the shields are safety, okay? But how the shields work is that in order to get the shields, you have to take away from the team, okay? And so basically, if there's a mission to go through these scarecrows and collect all of these coins in order to get $20,000, You have to separate yourself from looking for the gold to go and look for shields. They're in two totally different areas. So when you go to the scarecrows that have a hat, you have made a choice. You have said, I do not care about this money. I am going for safety. It is a choice. And the other people would be able to see, because the scarecrows that have the money in it, they don't have the hats. So it's very clear, if you are tearing open a scarecrow that has a hat, you're not looking for money. You're looking for safety for yourself. Okay, so it's very out in the open. If you decide that you're going to go get a shield, there is nothing that is hush hush secret about it. We know what you're doing. So in any event, they start the mission and they take off running. I want to give a shout out to my girl Phaedra, because I don't know if y'all know this, but I did. My girl was in the front. Come on, athletic legs and running. She took pune. She was in the front leading the charge. I said, that's my girl. So the teams are making their rounds, and then they get to, I think it was the second question, right? The second question was, who is the most popular? And the options were Dianne or Peppermint. Now everybody except for Peppermint and I think Sandra and I think Sheree, everybody else was like, it's Dianne. It has to be Dianne. Janelle and Trishelle, it's definitely Dianne. Well, it can't be Peppermint. It's 100% Dianne, right? And so they pulled the Dianne thing. Even Peppermint's team, OCT Nim, oh my gosh. OCT Nim, oh my gosh. All of them were like, oh no, it has to be Dianne. It has to be Dianne, right? And so Peppermint like, I'm telling y'all, it's me. It's me. And so they take down Dianne and they go to the box and they try to unlock it, and it does not unlock. Okay, it does not unlock. And at that point, Peppermint is like, I told y'all. And you really have to think about it. At that point, Dianne was not a topic of conversation. Y'all have spent the last 24 hours or more, because we don't know, we only get to see the edited version. You guys have spent the last 24 hours talking about Peppermint. Like, what's not clicking? 24 hours talking about this woman. Like, or was it a situation where it was like, who has the most popular show? I don't know. But if it was the most talked about person inside of the house, 1000% it was her. You know what I mean? And so, in any event, they all have to go back and get the Peppermint scarecrow and come back, right? And so they get to the final question. And this one right here shook my friend up. It shook Dan up just a little bit, because the question was, who do you guys think needs to talk more, right? And so it was out of Dan and Sheree. And the answer was Dan. And so the camera cuts to Dan saying that his strategy is to be quiet. Don't put information out, just get information in, right? And so realizing that the house has voted that you don't talk enough, you're very hush-hush to yourself, quiet, he's like, oh my goodness, I have to do something and I got to do it fast. And so in his mind, he says, okay, now that I have this information, and I will say that this particular mission was great for getting information, because even Phaedra, when the Marcus question came up, Phaedra was like, oh, Marcus has a lot of influence in the house. That's good to know for later on. You know what I mean? So this was a good opportunity for the Traitors to rack up information. So anyway, Dan gets into the field that we later find out is called the Field of Death. Do you really think I was going to go out there? Do you really think me, Dianne, was going to go into the Field of Death? This was not my season. That's why I did not get called. The Lord knew. So in any event, they go out there, and Dan is like, because everybody is saying that I'm quiet and I'm reserved, maybe this is a great opportunity for me to let them know that I feel threatened by that, and let me go get a shield, because that will also take them off of the idea of thinking that I am a traitor. And so he goes out there and he's scraping through all the scarecrows, and he gets his shield, and he is officially safe. So time runs out. They do not get the $20,000. They end up with $16,000 added to their pot. And Alan makes it very known. He's like, you guys could have gotten the full $20,000, but you know, some people decided that they would rather go and get safety. And the crazy part about it is there were no people. It was not plural. It was just Dan. He was the only person that went and got safety. So they got $16,000 and Dan got safe. transition over. So back at the house, we keep seeing Dan having these sidebar conversations with Parvati, and he's just basically like, I feel good about you. You feel good about me? You trust me? Am I good? Have you heard my name? But it's like he asked her that more than once. Like he's pulled her aside and asked her that more than once. And at this point, I'm like, why are you doing that? What are you doing that for? Like, I understand that y'all, but I don't see you doing this with Janelle. You sat down and had a conversation with her. I don't see you doing this with Sandra. You also sat down and had a conversation with her. So why are you doing this with Parvati so hard? I don't understand it. The only thing that I can think of as to why he would keep having these conversations and checking in with her and making sure that she feels safe with him, you know what I'm saying? And making sure to let her know, like, I got you, like I got your back. And so that when it is revealed that he is one of the traitors, he can make it seem like you're here because of me. Like, I'm the one who made sure that you were recruited. Not so much Phaedra, it was me. Like on some real selfish stuff, right? That's the only thing that I can think of. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But other than that, I don't see why he would keep having these side conversations. It was weird. I didn't understand why he kept having these side conversations. I mean, it's not Big Brother. So I don't know. But that's the only thing I can think of as to why he would keep having these random conversations with her. So there's this conversation that Peppermint is having again. You know, I felt like when she had the conversation with CT Nim, leave it there. But there's another conversation that is now happening. And as my girl is talking, she slips up and makes a comment and says, well, if Trishelle doesn't want to banish a traitor, a faithful, you know what I'm saying? She says it like that. And so when she says the word traitor, like the whole house goes into a frenzy, or at least the people that were in there. And I'm like, it's not, again, for me, it's not that deep. You could tell that she had a slip up, right? You could tell. But again, I have to take into account that I am on the outside looking in. Right? And so I already know that she's a faithful and she's telling the truth. So I have that knowledge. But as somebody, and I am at the top of the paranoid Patty list. I am at the top of it, okay? And so as someone on the inside, I guess I would have had the same reaction maybe. Like, girl, what? Did you just slip up and telling yourself, girl, what you? You know, but I think I would have pulled her to the side and be like, girl, what was that? You know, and just heard her perspective outside of everybody else. Just me and her would have had a conversation. In any event, she has this slip up and that did nothing for her case. That just helped the people say, oh, maybe Trishelle is onto something. You know, like, oh, it was making me so mad. I just need my girl to stop talking. But then fast forward, we get to the round table. It's time for them to start voting because they have to send somebody home. They have to vote somebody out. We get to the round table, and who is the person to raise their hand and say, I have something to say? Peppermint. Friend. No. And you know, okay. Because I want to give my friend grace, right? I keep saying my friend. Me and this lady ain't never met each other, but in my head, she's my friend. I want to give her grace and say that maybe she knew that the odds were stacked up against her and that, you know, people were looking at her a certain way. And so she felt like this was my final opportunity to say something to try to like shift it back to me. But then it turned real bad. It turned real bad. I needed my girl to stay calm and keep her composure. Again, pot calling kettle, I know. But I needed my girl to keep her composure because she's very articulate, right? Like she can say what she needs to say. I think if she would have said what she was trying to say to Trishelle without all the and girl and duh, you know what I'm saying? Because what did Trishelle do? She turned around and, oh, don't put your hand in my face. Don't do that. Don't put your hand, you know, like somebody was doing something to her. Oh, Trishelle. It ain't sitting right in my spirit. But in any event, she's like, don't put your hand in my face. Don't be rude to me. I'm not being rude to you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. And so I don't think that helped Peppermint's case because now Trishelle has planted the seeds. Everyone's looking at you as if you're a traitor. And now your volume is up because you are passionate about what you're saying. I'm not going to say she's angry. I'm not going to say she's mad. I'm going to say she's passionate about what she's saying. Period. right? So she's very passionate about what she had to say. And then Trishelle goes into, and I'm going to call it what I feel like it was, she goes into victim. Don't put your hand in my face. Why are you putting your hand in my face? And turning it into, you know what I'm saying? I didn't think it was that deep, but apparently it was that deep to Trishelle. Her feelings are her feelings. Ain't nothing I can do about that. Because one thing I'm not going to argue with somebody about is how they feel. However you feel is how you feel. But my spirit not sitting right with me. So then they're going at it, and Sheree steps in and she's like, I don't think that you are a traitor, to Peppermint. And I'm like, my girl, she by Sheree. So she's like, I don't think you're a traitor. And then Max with the KS from Dancing with the Stars. I did not know you, but I'm glad that you have arrived. Because my man stepped up and he was like, look, I think this is just all some gossip and very suspicious. Like, how you just come out of nowhere and start talking about Peppermint, throwing Peppermint out there, and all of a sudden this situation came from nowhere. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It seems like a bunch of gossip and a bunch of BS. Basically, he didn't say that, but I'm going to say it for him. He said this sounds like a bunch of bull. Shout out to Tracy Braxton. This sounds like some bull. Right? He was not here for it, and I appreciate him for stepping up and saying that, because he was not here for it, right? And so Trishelle kept saying, like, earlier, she was like, I want to address the elephant in the room. Baby, what elephant? Is it imaginary? Because we don't see it. You're the only one that sees it, and you're going around trying to plead your case to everybody to make them see this imaginary elephant that only exists to you. But now at this point, because she has done such great work at her campaigning and her persuade, like, we sit up here, we're worried about John, the politician, and talkative Trishelle is right here. She's right here. The writer of your persuasive essay is right here. Okay? And she's rallied up all these people. She's rallied up Larsa. She's rallied up Janelle. Like, she's rallied the troops against Peppermint. But before we get to the votes, okay, John and Tamra, hey girl, welcome, are now going at it because Janelle steps up and she goes, okay, well, I'm going to bring somebody else out. I'm going to bring out another option. And she says, you know, John, with the whole asthma and inhaler situation. She's like, you were breathing heavy. I believe you got tapped. I believe you're a traitor, and that's why you were doing that. And John is like, no, it was a situation where it was very intense and my anxiety was just like, And so when it was over, I was like, it was a sigh of relief that the situation was done, because, you know, I guess it was just too much for him. Tamara jumps in and was like, but you told her you had asthma, and I asked you for an inhaler, and you act like you didn't have an inhaler. You know what I was talking about. So do you have asthma? And so I'm not gonna lie, John was definitely tap dancing around the question. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Tamara said, you are answering this question like a politician, and she is absolutely correct. He made a statement where he said, I had asthma in my youth, right? And hold on before y'all start dragging him, because I can understand what he means. When I was younger, my asthma was very musty. It was a lot, right? But as I've gotten older, I don't need my inhaler as much. You know, I should still take it with me, because when I do, very rarely, but when I do have my moments, like, I need my inhaler. You know what I mean? But it's very, very rare. I think I might use my inhaler maybe twice a year. Okay? It's very rare. But when I need it, I need it. Okay? And so I understood what he was saying when he said that, but it just wasn't, if you're not an asthmatic, you're probably not going to get it. So Tamara is like, whatever you're selling, I'm not buying. This is some foolishness. And so they're going back and forth. Like, Tamara, I cannot believe you have me out here defending a politician. But when it comes to us asthmatics, we got to stick together, okay? Inhalers unite. Okay. Anyway, so now it's time for them to vote. And the majority of the votes went to Peppermint. Some went to John, but the majority went to her. And she ended up voting for Trishelle. So before you leave the castle, you get to stand up and tell whether you're a traitor or faithful. Like, you have to be honest in this moment, right? And so before Peppermint leaves, she stands in front of the group and she says, I am a faithful. let me not disregard her reasoning for coming on the show, because I feel like that was important too. She said she came on the show because she wanted to be a representation for other transgender people. That's why she had came on, because she wanted to be the representation for them, you know, and I thought that was really cool for that to be her why. You know, when you come on the show, everybody has their why, whatever it is. So I thought it was really cool that that was her why. But before she left, she let them know that she is in fact a faithful. Trishelle goes into this whole you know, moment. Girl, you knew. Just say you wanted her to go. Just say you didn't like her and you wanted her to go. You knew that girl wasn't no traitor. Like, and that's my story and I'm sticking to it. You knew. And so Peppermint is gone. And when Peppermint leaves, she leaves this very, very sad energy in the house. Like, people are so sad. Sheree is pissed, because, you know, that was her buddy, you know, and a lot of people in there were very upset because the way Peppermint went home was so wrong. Like, it was just, you know, it left a lot of people sad because she was such an energy and a light in the house. And I wasn't even in there, but you can tell that, because why the hell was everybody so somber after she left? Like, everybody was just so sad when she left. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it was just, that wasn't a good one. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a game and everybody has to go. So that's one less number. And I'm not even being, I'm not being cold-hearted or anything like that, or not having compassion or understanding for it. Because again, it was whack. Sending home Peppermint like that was whack. But numbers, everybody's number has to go, right? So her number got pulled. She's out. So after Peppermint leaves, this very interesting conversation happens between Dianne and Sandra. And they're discussing how they feel about Peppermint leaving, you know, and Sandra's like, I'm not cool with it. You know, I don't like how that went down. And Dianne is like, yeah, I don't like how that happens either. And as he's talking, he starts to get really emotional, you know, because it definitely was, as I think Max put it, it was a herd mentality. Like, everybody kind of like ganged up on Peppermint, and it wasn't a good look. And Dianne felt that. And he was like, you know, he's been in that situation before where he's been the person who has been innocent and has been ganged up on by everybody else. He's been the Peppermint before in situations. And so he was like, and to now be one of the people that's ganging up on somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, I'm about, like, you know, it almost brought him to tears. He was just not, he didn't feel good about that situation at all. And so that was a moment. That was a moment. I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be me if I didn't ask, do you guys think his tears were real? Or do you think his tears were fake? I personally think they were real, but I have to ask what the people, I have to know what the viewers think. I want to know where your minds are. I think his emotion and how he felt was very genuine and very real. But I definitely want to know what you guys think. Comment below. Tell me what you think. So then there's this conversation where Trishelle walks into the room and she sits down. And when she sits down, she's talking with Max. Somebody else was in there, but I remember Max with the KS for sure, because he basically told Trishelle, you know, this is all your fault, right? You know, this is your fault, right? And so when Trishelle sits down, when she comes into the room and she sits down, there's no emotions. She's just like, you know, I feel bad. It happened. You know, I feel really bad, blah, 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 blah. And so then after Max says everything that he has to say and they finish whatever conversation they're having, she gets up, she starts crying and walks out the room. Why are you crying? Trishelle, why? Come here. Come here. What are you crying for? Like, I really want to give you grace and say that you were crying because maybe guilt. Because I've been in that position before. I've been in the position where in my mind and in my heart, 100% I felt like somebody was guilty. And then when it turns out that they were innocent, that guilt will eat at you. And what I did is, as soon as I found out, even at the sake of jeopardizing my game, I ran to that person and apologized immediately. Probably jeopardized both our games. I didn't care. My conscience had taken over the game player, right? And so I ran to that person and I hugged that person and I asked that person to forgive me immediately. I didn't see you do that when it came out that Peppermint was actually a faithful. I didn't see you jump up and be like, I'm sorry, or even stay in your seat and say, I'm sorry. I saw theatrics, right? And so when she started crying, again, I want to give her grace and I want to say it was guilt and that she felt bad, right? But something in me, and I can't shake it, and Trishelle, maybe you're going to have to, we can have a conversation, not on camera, because I don't think I'll be doing interviews. Maybe I should. What y'all think? Y'all think I should start doing interviews? Maybe so. Not on this show, though, because I'm just too far behind. But in the event, something in me feels like the reason she started crying is because Max KS told her that it was her fault. And it was on some, oh, now everybody's going to think that I'm the bad guy because I'm the person that did this. And I'm the one I'm responsible for sending Peppermint home and I was wrong. And da 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 da. I think that was the monologue that was playing in her head, which made her start crying. I don't think it was guilt. I think it was Max saying, this is all your fault. I think it was I'm going to say that you feel guilty and you feel bad. That is the grace I want to extend. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that she was crying because she genuinely felt bad? Or do you guys think she was crying because Max with a KS was like, so this is your fault, right? This is your fault, right? I do not know Max with a KS from Dancing with the Stars, but I am so glad you are there because when I tell you I hollered when he said that, oh, that was hilarious to me. So anyway, she takes off crying and that kind of wraps up that whole moment. Now we have this conversation between Marcus and Dan, okay? And this is where Marcus is like, I'm not going to call you out personally, but it was a lot of people in that room who were being quiet. And then the people that I was paying attention to because they might be the traitors, And so Dan, of course, finds a way to flip the thing. And he's like, look, that's just me. I'm just a quiet person. I don't talk. I'll start talking more, but that's just who I am. That's my personality. And trying to, get Marcus to see him in a different light. But Dan, they own you because you playing Big Brother. Talk to these people, even if you're telling them stuff that don't make sense, okay? Even if your reads are wrong and you just lying just to lie. Lie, but talk. Say something to the people, please. Moving on. So now it is time for everybody to go to sleep because the traitors have to lurk in the corners of the night. So everybody has to go to bed. Side note, I was very sad to find out that the cast members do not live in the castle. Apparently they have their own little hotel rooms that they go to at the end of the night every night. I don't like that, but I totally get it because any real game player is going to stay up all night to see who is creeping off and having these little traitor meeting conversations in the middle of the night. So I get it. It makes sense. Like, y'all have to be separated in order for these meetings to go smoothly. Totally get it. So in any event, the traitors meet up and Parvati gets an opportunity to see who is there, and she sees Dan and she sees Phaedra. She has her theatric moment, and so it was good. It was really good. And that is where the episode ends. We have got to the end of episode 2. I am excited to get to episode 3 and let you guys know what I think about that episode. And I'm just going to keep getting these videos out until I catch up to you guys. I'm going to try my hardest to get caught up before Thursday because I think the new episodes come out every Thursday. But keep in mind, I still have to watch Love is Blind. And I didn't know that it was 6 episodes over there. I thought they was going to release 1 episode a week, so that give me time to, that thing said 6. Who has the time? But I'm going to try. In any event, I hope that you guys liked this episode. I had so much fun watching it and I had so much fun making this video. If you liked this video, make sure you like this video, share the video, subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Go on and click the notification button so you can get notified when these videos come out because I'm popping them out. And I hope that you guys are watching and enjoying them. I love you guys with the love of the Lord. And until my next video, I'm out.